everybody, this is Maureen Wong for yournextstep.com. Today I'm going to be making this really cute laminated bookmark using some YNS products, and I'm going to show you, in case you've never done it before, how to laminate. So let's get started. Okay, first of all, we're going to be using the large bookmark dies, and here they are. It's a set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you know, you don't have to use these little ones for bookmarks. They would make cute little bookmarks, but they would make also great little tags for sentiments. But today I'm using the largest of the bookmarks, and it measures just a little bit over 6 inches tall. So when I cut it from my 6x6 pattern paper, I actually ended up cutting it into that little edge, the extra half-inch edge that's on most paper pads, because I wanted the graph paper, or whatever this is called, in this straight up and down orientation. The other thing you can do with your pattern paper, though, is that you can actually put your die at a slant like this, and it'll completely go inside the pattern, the regular pattern area. But your whatever you're doing, it will be slanted if it matters to the pattern. This polka dot one, of course, it doesn't really matter, but for some things like this, I didn't want it to be slanted, so that's why I cut it straight to the top. And I didn't mind this little yellow stripe at the top, and when I cut the back for it, I also cut it straight up and down because I didn't mind that little yellow part, and I think it ties it together. And then the other thing is, because I'm going to be tying the ribbon through, it's kind of going to hide some of that anyway, so it sort of doesn't matter. But these are my 2 pieces of my bookmark. And again, that is using the largest of the large bookmark dies. And then for stamps, I'm going to be using the new Bookworms Rule. Let me show you that. This stacked books with the worm on top, and then I'm also going to put the I Love Reading on the bookmark bottom. So let me put aside my backing. I'm using my MISTI, but of course you don't have to. And I'm going to stick that right in the corner, and I'm going to hold that down with a magnet while I position my die, my stamp. And this stamp is really large, and it's going to fit perfectly onto the large bookmark. If you stamp it onto the second largest bookmark, some of the edges are going to be left out, but it still looks really cute. So if you want to use that size bookmark, it does fit on the pattern paper in a normal up and down or horizontal alignment, so you don't have to worry about slanting your pattern or anything like that, or getting that thing on the top. But yeah, it just does leave off a little bit of the edges. So I'm gonna try and center that in my bookmark, and I want it relatively straight. And I think that's going to do it. And then I also want to put down the I Love Reading, because I'm going to stamp them both in the same ink, so I might as well have them both on there at the same time. And I'm going to move this a little bit down so that they are kind of close together. Then I'm going to close my MISTI lid and pick up both those stamps, and yeah, it's going to pick up the bookmark, but that doesn't matter because I'm just going to put it right back into that corner, and I'm going to hold it down with the magnet. And then today I'm using Stampin' Up! Ink. This is Early Espresso, and it looks almost black, but it's not quite black, so it gives sort of a nice antique-y kind of look that matches nicely with this paper. So I ink that all up, and I'm going to carefully stamp that down. And I'm not pushing really hard on this. I'm just making sure that I'm getting every bit of it, especially the insides might tend, the the center of the stamp might tend not to stamp as well as the outer edges. So I'm making sure I give the little pressure there, but I'm really not pressing that hard. And there is my bookmark front. Okay, and just for a little added interest, I decided to color the apple on the top. And I'm not doing anything fancy. These are my Spectrum Noir colored pencils. This is number 25 for the red. And I'm also going to color the little heart in the I Love Reading. Okay, and then I've got number 47 to do the little leaf on the apple. And I think just that little bit of coloring makes it just a little more interesting. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the backing and I'm going to adhere it, and it doesn't need to be adhered really well. It just needs to make sure it stays together straight. So I am lining that up. Okay. Oops, I think I got it just a little bit crooked. Okay, and now let me get my laminator set up so I can show you the rest. Okay, so this is my Apache laminator. I bought it from Amazon and it was relatively inexpensive, and it even came with 20 laminating pouches. I'm using the 5mm, but it also came with 3mm pouches, which actually can be run through with die cuts through your die cut machine. The 5mm I wouldn't recommend. It doesn't seem to cut as well. And what I've done is I've just got a scrap piece here that I have left over from another project I just did, and I just insert, if you don't know, the connected portion, you are going to feed that in first. So what I do is I put my bookmark in, and let me move this back a little bit so you can see. I put my bookmark into the edge, and I'm trying to make it kind of straight because I'm not going to cut this bottom edge. So you can see here, I tried to straighten that up with the edge, and it's just a little bit crooked still yet. There we go, that looks better. And then with this bottom portion, I don't want to cut it off because that would be wasted. You need to put the connected edge through the machine, otherwise it might not line up correctly when you're feeding it through, and then you're gonna mess up your machine. So what I did was I just got a piece of graph cardstock. This is from Amuse Studio, and I cut it down to fit in the area of my pouch here at the bottom that's left over, and I'm just going to feed them both through, and then I won't have too much wasted pouch because I'm doing this, and I'll tell you what that's good for later. This is a little wasted space, but I can't think of anything I want to do with that, just really skinny area, so I'm just going to leave that open. Okay, and now the green light has gone on my laminator, so that means it's ready. And I'm just going to feed this through. And it's going to take a while, and I'm going to hold it to make sure that it goes through nicely. And this is just going to take a little while. But basically it's pulling the pouch through all on its own. I'm not pushing it at all. I'm just making sure that it's going in nicely and that the pieces are not moving within the pouch. And then back here you can see it's coming out heated. and it looks really nice and crystal clear. You might be a little worried because the pouch looked kind of just a bit frosted, but when it heats up and comes out, it comes out crystal clear, and you can, let me show you how clear that stamped image came out. Okay, and that's it. So I'm going to turn off my power, and you can see here that it's crystal clear, and I've got a really nice little laminated bookmark. So what I'm going to do, and this is actually pretty cool once it comes out. The very end that came out of the laminator last might not be as cool as the top, but within just a couple seconds it cools off and it's fine to be held. So I'm gonna move this aside and I'll be right back. Okay, so I brought out my Fisker Sure-Cut trimmer, and I'm going to trim. First of all, I'm gonna trim off the graph paper, graph cardstock that I did at the bottom, and I'm gonna try and center that pretty well so that we get even laminate on both edges, because if you cut too close to your cardstock inside, it's gonna open up the pouch. It needs a little bit of room to seal, and so if you cut too close, it's gonna open up, and then you won't have a watertight pouch anymore, or watertight item, I guess. It's not a pouch anymore. And then the other cut I'm gonna make is to cut this down so that it is I want to make sure I give it enough room, and there we go. Cut down that way, and this is just waste. I guess you could do something with it, but I haven't thought of anything, so I'm just going to throw that part away. And then for the rest of this, I'm going to be cutting by hand to get around that shape. Let me see if my regular paper scissors will do the trick. And yes, they do. And I'm going to round these corners on the bottom. And then I'm going to cut here at the top. And it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but oops, I went a little bit too close. So you have to be careful. I'm rushing this. You, of course, will take your time doing this. Let me see if that's still shut. Yeah, that's still shut. Okay, here's my crocodile. I have it set to the larger hole size. And I'm gonna go ahead and punch that as close to the center as I can. There we go. And hopefully you can see that is punched now. And I'm gonna get some twill ribbon to make a top for my bookmark. Nothing fancy. I'm just going to put the ends through and then pull it through like that. And you can leave them as long as you want. But basically there is your bookmark. And then with this little piece, what you do is you can either use dry erase markers, or there are also wet erase markers, which I do have one somewhere around here, but I just don't have it handy right now. But you just go ahead and you can write shopping lists. One thing I've been doing lately is when I am creating cards and I do coloring, I will write down the colors that I'm using, so that I know if I do a voiceover, I can say on the video what color I was using, or if I write it on my blog, I can write out the colors. And then this just wipes off after you're done with it. So these make handy little things to have around. And one thing though that I would do with this is I would get my corner chomper, because these corners can be really, really sharp. So I just get the 1/8 inch edge, and that wasn't open all the way. And for some reason it's not working right. Oh, there we go. I didn't have it open all the way, so I would just go around and punch all those sharp corners, and then you have a nice little rounded corner. So that is it for my bookmark project today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching.